Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well on this Wednesday evening, where the weather has actually been quite nice today. It's been patient. It's been friendly with us. It's not trying to kill us at every turn. It's not trying to drop trees or cause landslides or blow brick houses on top of people. It's actually been quite relaxed. So, well, you know what? We'll start off with a toast to the weather. Cheers, weather, for sparing us after the absolute calamities that we've had. And the amount of storms we've been getting is a bit ridiculous. But we are back to discussing another day, another round of transfer stories and bits and bobs to talk about. And there's actually quite a few bits to talk about. And thank goodness for that, because it keeps me busy. It absolutely keeps me busy. So keep it coming. We've got talks about striker loans. There's a few names being drawn up. Less than, say, satisfactory names being drawn up on the drawing board. We've got talks of an Elise transfer from Crystal Palace and how we might look to exploit a release clause. That's one way for our incompetent board to get around having to do negotiations with the club. Thankfully, there's a way for them to actually just jump, skip, and hop past those stages and go straight to negotiating with the player. So, but then again, I say, if for an incompetent board, we'll actually have a competent board, so that it might not matter either way. So, we'll have to see how things goes. But that's more of a summer conversation, but interesting nonetheless. Very much interesting nonetheless. Featuring also on the show, we've got ONANA. My God, this guy is too desperate. He's way too desperate. Like, seriously, like, the talks of him playing against Spurs, right? That's what he wants to do, and that's what the club are happy for him to do. He's going to get on a plane after that game, jet out to play in the AFCON, and then play roughly about 24 hours later, if not less. He's aiming to play 2 games within 24 hours of each other, and we're allowing it. Yeah, we'll get into that at a slightly later stage. A small topic of Wan-Bissaka getting his contract extension. We already knew this. This was talk of it last stream, with it being a 1-year extension, because most people at Manchester United seemingly have this plus 1 year in their contracts, because he was due to run out. So yeah, I mean, it's just part of business, I guess, and talks potentially of opening negotiations between now and the end of the season to extend that contract. Also, Martinez and Casemiro are back training with the first team. They have engaged with their first training sessions today, and yeah, that's good news. That's very good news. We'll be covering that, and also Javi Guerra. Who is Javi Guerra? Supposedly a young Spaniard. I believe he's Spanish. Playing at Valencia, I believe it is. No idea who the player is, to be quite frankly honest. But we'll cover that kind of story anyway, as well as talking of young midfielders. I believe Edison from Atalanta, another midfielder, young, talks again potentially of a summer acquisition. But yeah, that's basically a quick rundown of the topics we're going to be covering for today's show. So all that good stuff. Big up Fuzzy, big up Longhead Yeti's Cave, big ups to you, man. Hope everything's well with you. See, you did a long gaming stream earlier today. Can't say I've heard of the game that you were playing before. If I double check, Remnants of the Ashes. Don't think I've ever seen or heard of that game before. But yeah, I'm much more of a first-person shooter, a bit more fast-paced action. Not too fast-paced, though, because Call of Duty sucks. Call of Duty really, really sucks. Hate Call of Duty. Old school Call of Duty was where it was at. Now it's just crap. It's crap all over the place. But let's not waste any more time and let's jump straight into the nitty gritty. Strike alone season. We're operating with zero bank balance in this window. So anything that happens, if we want to buy a player, it's coming out of someone else's transfer fee for an outgoing. So we are scouring the market, scurrying around, trying to figure out who we're going to loan in, who we're going to bring in, who's going to be leading the front line for the second half of the season for the next, 5 6 months. I say 5 to 6 months. It's only really actually about 3 to 4 months before the season's pretty much wrapped up. But or 4 to 5 months. But even so, like, who is there that we are looking to loan in? Now, as we know, clubs that are looking to loan players, they're not going to be anything special. So the following names, I think Girassi, a little bit less so of a loan option. Perhaps there was an exploration to potentially buying him, but yeah, I've not heard too much beyond the murmurings earlier on in the transfer window. We've also got Malen, currently Dortmund player, um, to loan in. Obviously, it would be an ideal sort of conversation to have with Dortmund, as we are dealing with them with Sancho going out. Apparently, Sancho's agreed to go to Dortmund, and Dortmund really want to bring him in. It's just uh, with United sorting everything out their ends and figuring out, do we want to get something coming back the other way? Supposedly, allegedly, Malen coming in the other way. There's one group that are not too sure about that, and that is Ineos. They're supposedly saying, not really, we're not really too fussed with this player, to be honest. So we'll be interested with looking at other alternatives. Two other alternatives that have been linked to the club is Timo Werner from Leipzig. Yeah, that's the thing. And Choupo-Moting. Choupo-Moting from Bayern. Yeah, so the names that we've drawn up on the shortlist are a bit less than impressive. But then again, if you're looking at loaning strikers in, you kind of also have to think of it like, but what else would we have been able to get on a loan basis? Now, everyone else has got the luxury of going out with the opportunity to buy players. They can buy players. Manchester United, we don't want anything to do with buying players right now because there's nothing to buy them with. There's no money set aside that we can operate within regulation to signing players. Sure, there might be, you know, some money to actually throw at players, but in terms of what the wage bill specifies, we need to clear some space first before we even remotely entertain those sorts of conversations. So, yeah, it's not great, to be honest. If there's one person out of those lists that I'm sort of leaning more towards, if it was me, I'd go between a Malen and a Werner, to be completely honest with you. I think Werner, of course, he's not really prolific goal scorer. Quite pacey, quite pacey. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that. And sometimes pace can be a real killer in teams that do play high lines, and we struggle against teams uh, that play high lines when we are off it. When we're on it, we tend to do some good work. So Timo Werner could slot perfectly into that kind of a role in the system. But of course, if we come up against a team that wants to play low block, yeah, we're kind of finished in that front. But put your preferences, if you wish, if there is anybody there that even remotely interests you, who would you out of that list sign? Bearing in mind it's not a purchase, it's a loan deal. For me, I'm sort of angling more towards a Malen slash Werner. I think Gerassi's too much of an unknown. I don't know about him anywhere near enough. And Choupo-Moting, I think, is just he's at the point where it's like a journeyman, but he's on the slow down side of his career. So Maybe if he goes to like a mid-table club, well, I say that if he goes to a mid-table club, we are kind of a mid-table club, so it's probably justified as to why we're linked to him. But you get my point. You get my point. Just to speak of Manchester United as though we are actually a big club. You know, we're not really acting like it, but just to think more of a positive hypothetical, if you know. Um, Lots getting linked to MGW, which I'm not happy about, and I think that's the problem. Is as much as Morgan Gibbs White does well for you, you think, oh, fantastic, we've got a really good player. Unfortunately, the status of your club, the stature of your club, it's not really in the point where it commands that players that play for you currently think that there is nothing bigger project wise, or in terms of where a player can go. There's no other level above Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately, if there is a level above Nottingham Forest and the offers come from above there, yeah, I think there's probably going to be a bit of some nail biting going on in the Nottingham Forest fan base, and I can absolutely understand that. I mean, Morgan Gibbs White, such a pivotal player for Nottingham Forest in recent times, he's going to get scouted. He's going to get picked up, and I think there's a lot of people from these bigger clubs that have been talking about Morgan Gibbs White, what he has to offer, and thinking, actually, yeah, no, he's a fairly solid player. He's a very decent player. I'll tell you what, I would probably take him at Manchester United. I'm not going to lie, I probably would, given circumstances at the moment with how our midfield and attack goes. Morgan Gibbs White would supply us with an upgrade. He'd find a better fitting. So, you know, uh, if we are going to get anywhere, we need to keep our best players, and that's the thing. That's where the difficulty comes from. Is that if you're going to sell your better players, you've also at the same essence got to replace them with very similar quality, and then you build those guys up. But at the time that you're building those guys up, your club goes up with it, and it's trying to sort of make that transition without getting sort of slaughtered or hunted down by all of these other clubs trying to sign all of your best players. Anyone is an upgrade in your team, pretty much. To be quite frankly honest, pretty much. I mean, to be fair, centre backs, if we've got Martinez and Varane back, there's not a huge amount of players that make an upgrade there. CDMs, if you're talking about replacing Casemiro, again, there's not really a huge amount of players out there that's actually better than Casemiro, or many at all. But players like in the strike force, the wingers, your fullbacks, defensive midfielders to partner a Casemiro, the transitional players, your box to box, your attacking midfielders, perhaps to replace Bruno. Bruno's not a system player. He's a very freelance player. He just does what he wants when he wants to. And I suppose that's probably one of the reasons why Bruno Fernandes has not really been scintillating by any extent under Ole Gunnar, well, not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but under Erik ten Hag, and he's probably been better under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So, to be fair, that's understandably justifiable comment with that. In terms of other deals, Michael Elise is an interesting one. Talks of the summer already starting, and names are being dropped, and I suppose this is a statement of intent from Ineos. I think there is a statement of intent just to really identify, I think, to start with, before really getting into the finer details of of negotiations where you plan more long term. I think short term it's not going to look very pretty. Long term, there's a whole different world out there for United to go and explore with this, and the people that we can have to lead us into those realms, they're going to be worlds better than what we currently have. And unfortunately, that's the thing. What we're dealing with this transfer window is what has failed us for so long. It's just there's an influence of Ineos, and even with that slight influence of Ineos, Everyone knows they've got to listen to Ineos. Everyone knows they have to, because that's going to be the whole setting of that sporting, of the sporting element of the club. They've got no choice but to listen to Ineos. If they don't, then they are very, very quickly streamlined out the job. Whereas right now, they're just gradually exchanging people, putting better people in placements. I know that there's talks with Dan Ashworth. The conversation is apparently going quiet, but somebody from news outlets based up in Newcastle saying, well, they've not come out to deny that Dan Ashworth is not going anywhere. Newcastle haven't denied anything. And there's a realistic possibility that Dan Ashworth will just up and leave Newcastle in favour of the project at Manchester United to become the new sporting director at our club. And I mean, if you're a sporting director, if you're choosing between which one you're going to do work for, do you do work for Newcastle United that's got Saudi backing, hundreds of millions of pounds easily every single transfer window, but you're coming from a place lower down? Are you going to choose that, or are you going to go to Manchester United where it's like it's a fallen giant? There's a new tune that's being introduced, and it's with people that you've worked with before. There's people you've worked with before. There's people that you know very well. Like, there's quite a few good mutuals over there, and the stature of Manchester United, it possesses a bigger pull. I think there might be a little of a balance there, but maybe more so in the favour of Manchester United. So I think if the conversations get very serious very quickly, I think Dan Ashworth is just going to be all ears. He's going to be like, right, I know who you guys are. I know what you're all about. Tell me what you've got going on. And, Sir Dave Brailsford, who's going to be essentially completely in control of Manchester United's football club sporting element, that this is going to be his sole focus. He's not going to worry about anything going on with Nice, because I know Ineos still have Nice. He's not going to be even looking towards France for doing work. He's just going to be focused solely on Manchester United. So it's we understand somebody who's going to be here committed to the club. So that's always a nice thing to hear. But for me, Dan Ashworth, get him in. Paul Mitchell's already, because I mean this Javi Guerra that we'll talk about in a little bit. He supposedly, the people talking about him in their stories have also name dropped Paul Mitchell in there. So if there is talks of Paul Mitchell, maybe Paul Mitchell's just said, oh, actually, there is a guy that I really like in Valencia, and you could potentially start looking there. So maybe there's something in that, but we'll get to that in a moment. But Michael Elise in the summer, looking likely. It's gaining legs, this one. I like Michael Elise as a player. What he has to offer, Premier League proven, good age profile, good technical profile. He drastically improves Manchester United's first team, drastically. And with that addition of quality in attacking areas, it's not so much that he's, say, your finisher. He's the guy that is in the creative element. And one thing that's very established with United teams as of late, we are so poor at creating clear cut. Michael Elise would be somewhat thereabouts, as close to a clear cut creator as you can get. And why not? I think as far as doing a deal, like price wise, I think it's it would be a very expensive deal to do, but explore what that release clause is all about. Chelsea tried to activate the £30 million release clause. Didn't happen. That was last summer. Didn't happen. negotiated a new deal. Release clause is still there, but it's significantly higher. I don't know what the exact number on the release clause is, but if it is reasonable, I think right there is an easy deal for Manchester United to do. Very easy deal. So it'll be great. I think it would be a really interesting deal, and I think the fact that United have very clearly sort of circled him out and said, well, actually, there's a viable target right there, and if there's talks about release clause, they might have identified what that release clause is, and without being too public about it, I know that if everything becomes about release clause, this release clause, that, everyone's going to be all over it. If it is really good value. So yeah, if it's something like a £50 million release clause, though not too likely, because it was about 35 million before. With it being significantly higher, they might have doubled it. So it might be around a £60 million release clause /70 or something. I think if it's upwards of like 70, I think we've got a lot of problems that we need to solve with this team, and I think splashing out 70 million on one player, I think it's too committed to one position for me. A little bit too committed for one position. If it is more like a between a 50 to 60 million pound release clause, I think do the math for it. Look at your budgets, and you might be able to make the exception to it. So it's absolutely worth doing. I personally would, dependent solely on what the pricing of the player is. Sounds like the players are turning on Arteta. It looks like it. It does look like it. Elise, great player, great prospect. I thought City had eyes on him. I think there was talk about it, and then I think Chelsea decided, because they were still on their thing of whoever it is that Man City, Arsenal, United, or anybody else is looking at, go hijack the deal. So maybe there was that happening where City was like, actually, Michael Elise, he looks all right, because I think they were looking at Lucas Paqueta at the same time. I think with that, it was Chelsea was just like, oh my God, let's put money, put it on the table quick. And Michael Elise was just like, actually, you know what? I'm going to stay here for at least another season. They improved his contract offer, so his market value's increased tenfold. So Crystal Palace demanding ridiculous amounts of money to fleece a club becomes more or closer to reasonable. So if there's a release clause in there, however, that is undisclosed, but is of a good value, I think Palace will go, well, actually, if someone's serious about putting that kind of money on the table for Michael Elise, we can't stop anybody. We can't stop them. And Michael Elise, I think, would be very much all ears to whatever offer it is that comes to him. Oi, oi, football bands. How we doing, Abs? How's things going on with you? Shout Fuzzy. Why would I shout? Why would I shout? Don't want to shout. Big ups to Stephanie Griffith as well. Hope you're doing well. Shout Yeti Meister up to 4 likes. Only 4 likes. We're up to 5 now. Big ups to people liking the stream. Thank you very, very much for that. Big ups to Abs and Stephanie, 100%. Big ups to Early Doors as well. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Got the darts on. I know, 6. It's like, here's the easiest bet you'll ever see or hear in your life, right? Easiest bet of your life. Luke is going to win the final of the darts. Luke is going to win. But here's the thing. You stake your bet on it being a Luke that wins. You'll never lose. You won't get any money bonus for it, but you'll never lose. Well, actually, you would lose. You'd half win and half lose, to be fair, because there are 2 Lukes in the final. Darts watch along. Maybe. Pellistri is the next one to leave United, according to reports. There are a lot of clubs that are interested in loaning him in, and Nice being one of them. And maybe there's something there, some legs to that, perhaps if it's like a loan to buy, because I don't see Pellistri getting. I don't see Pellistri having a United career, to be completely honest. And I think if Pellistri, if he gets a loan, maybe Nice could do like a loan to buy. They might do a loan to buy for Pellistri, a possibility. But for me, it's Pellistri again, another loan. He's getting a bit. He's getting to the point where his age profile's like, yeah, nah. If we were serious about you coming to take a first team spot, you would have taken it by now. And we're still sort of putting you in the category where it's like you're a prospect, but you're not actually at the profile of a prospect anymore. You're not a prospect player anymore. You are someone who is a young first teamer who's building up his career, and it's on the basis of playing consistent football. So you need to find that level and get games, and start playing. But big ups to Anthony Herbert. Always a pleasure to have you in the chat. All good fans, just prepping for stream tomorrow. Ooh, what stream is that one? Girona are beating Atletico Madrid 3-1, by the way, and it's not even half time yet. Lee Gunner's doing a watch along for that stream, for that game as well. So do make sure to go check out Lee Reacts for that live stream and all that good stuff. Luke using the Force. He is using the Force of throwing a dart at a dartboard. Yes. And there's plenty much Force users going on tonight. AKA sour. Sour grapes. Sour grapes. Anthony Herbert equals John McEnroe. The ball was out. The ball was out. And thanks to all of the regulars in the chat. Always a pleasure to see everybody livening up sorts in the chat there. Up to 7 likes. Big ups to people liking the stream. Let's keep this thing going. On to ONANA. My word, my word, my word. What is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? And what is Ten Hag doing? Why is he allowing this? Why is Bayindir not playing against Wigan and Spurs? Why is Ten Hag not choosing to let ONANA either go, but you go on time, or you don't go and you stay here? Why are you sitting right down the middle? It's such incompetence. It is unbelievable incompetence that a manager is happy for ONANA to play for United against Spurs on a Sunday and then play a game for Ghana in the AFCON tournament on the Monday. What the ever-loving fuck? Why? Seriously. Decisions like that get you sacked, Eric. Decisions like that. Because it really diminishes that you have no control and you have no idea. Why would you allow that to happen? Why are you allowing Andre Onana to say, well, actually, Eric, I don't want to lose my spot in the first team because I know I've been quite poor. I've been really, really poor, actually. But I don't want Bayindir to get a chance in this team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it really fine. I'm going to play against Wigan. I'm going to play against Tottenham Hotspur. And then I'm going to play for Ghana on Monday, the very next day. Why are you allowing someone to come out and just be like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do? It's like Ten Hag's like, good boy, go get him. It's like, what? Any competent club would sit there and say, nah, you've signed up for duty. On this day, everyone in your squad's flying out. You're going with them. You're on that plane. If Bayindir comes in and starts setting the world on fire, too bad. Too bad. Cry on the plane home when you find out Bayindir keeps a clean sheet in all of the games he's played. If that were to be the case, cry about it. I don't care. You should not be deciding what games you're going to play. And that's the thing. That's literally what it is. Onana's deciding what games he's going to play. He picks himself. That's player power personified. Player power. A goalkeeper gets to choose what games he does and doesn't play. This is Manchester United. Since when has a player ever been given the rights of deciding when he doesn't play for this club? It doesn't make any sense to me. So for me, Onana, you signed up for international duty. You can go. Leave. Go play for your country. Leave Bayindir to get game time. Because he's so far this season, he has accumulated 0 minutes and 0 seconds. He's not even touched the pitch for a nanosecond. That's how little game time he has had. It's about time Bayindir gets given some time and experience. Leave the club. Go on international duty. Play for your country. Stop shitting the bed about a position that you have no right to demand is yours, and throw your toys out the pram if your position gets taken away. This is football. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You don't have the keys to controlling it. It is out of your power. And Ten Hag, you should be the key bearer with this, but you're not. You're relinquishing it. And the problem is Sir Jim Ratcliffe has had meetings with people today. He has listened to what's going. He's been at Carrington, Old Trafford. He's been in Manchester for quite a long time today, right? Meetings, interviews with lots of people, and he's not going to have not heard about this. He won't have done. He's got to be surely looking at this and thinking, wow, this manager, he's letting one of his first team players play 2 matches almost in the span of 24 hours. I've never seen or heard of that before. Like, it might have happened like way back in the early days of football. Like way back. We're talking like 1910, 20, 1930, 1940. That's about it. You don't get that in modern game. You don't get that. So God only knows what is going on with that. And what's your decisions in the chat? Are you letting Onana go to AFCON and dismissing him on time, or are you saying now you're staying? Because you can't just go and pick and choose which games you want to play. Because if it was up to him, he might come back after the game on Monday to play in Man United's next game, and then go out to then play in the AFCON game again. It doesn't make any sense. That is the peripherals to the situation, and it doesn't cut a good picture by any means at all. Eric Ten Hag got Arteta-itis. In terms of squad management and player management, like he's giving more and more indication that he just doesn't know what he's actually like, how he's meant to manage the squad. Like he should be at a club that instructs him what to do, and I think that's probably what it is. Eric Ten Hag should be at a club that tells him what to do. You do this, Eric. And the thing is that might be. And tell you what, that opens an interesting hypothetical. Is Ten Hag apprehensive about giving up influence on the vetoing and transfers because he was given the power and he enjoys having that power, whereas he's never actually had it at any other clubs before? He's had all the work done for him. He gets given that power and he's like, oh, please don't take my power away from me. Please, I beg, don't take the power away from me, because I want to have all the influence, because I'm comfortable that way. Gives me all the comfort and I can relax in this position. If there's anything even remotely true about that, I'll tell you this. He can leave tomorrow. He can. he can leave tomorrow. So yeah, because Eric is a Muppet is a simple answer. Well, he's cutting a spineless figure, to be quite frankly honest. Just ready of interest in Timo Werner. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great by any means, but it's kind of like, well, we're not buying anybody. It's only going to be loans. So really, what else is there to loan? Or which clubs are going to be willing to loan? It's not really going to be a vast array of options, unfortunately. Evening, Fuzzmeister. Evening, Mama Flossie. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. And going into everybody else as well. Allretet. Allretet. What's Allretet? But moving on to Wan-Bissaka, 1 year contract extension. As we covered with previous stream or yesterday's stream, lots of players getting 1 year contract extensions. Now, there's belief that this could be relation to upkeeping a player value with the intent to selling them in the summer. And that would perhaps be some variable truths to that, given the circumstances of the club saying, we've got no money, so they'll want to maximize the transfer budgets even more by preparing players for the sale list. And maybe the contract extensions there is that they're not desperate to open contract talks now, and they probably never will. There's probably talks of saying, yeah, no, we might open the contract talks later. We're just going to activate the 1 year extensions now, and then we will talk to you further down the line about it. Maybe those talks don't happen. Maybe we go all the way from right here today, all the way into the summer, and still guys like Lindelof, Hannibal Mabry, and Wan-Bissaka haven't heard a peep about contract negotiations. And they might go, well, why have we not discussed about contracts? The guys upstairs will turn around and be like, yeah, you've not heard anything because you were selling you. Start talking to your agents. You're going. You're gone this summer. Preferably within the first week. So best of luck. And that's kind of the way that we've got to be. That we haven't really got a way any other ways about this. Can't spell. All right. Gan boil your head, man. Oh, bloody hell. Bloody hell, it's been a long day. It has been a long day. Not Geordie Mama creates her own language. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka, what do you guys think it's to do with? Do you guys reckon it is upkeeping player value to sell him in the summer? Or do you think there is genuine interest from the club to renewing his contract? For me, if I were to decide between what I'm doing with Wan-Bissaka and his contract, I am selling him. I'm selling him. There's a lot of players I want to sell. A lot of players. And I've said on other streams elsewhere that I'd sell most of this squad. Most of them. Barely anybody survives. Barely anybody. So, yeah, that's my resolve with this. The good news, very good news today, is that Martinez and Casemiro return to first team training. They've completed their first full training session today, which is great news to hear, as they are very, very instrumental parts to the first team. Casemiro in terms of midfield control, even though we don't really have more control than I mean, we don't really have much control in midfield even with Casemiro there. But having someone like a Martinez, that's going to be very important in terms of how we actually build attacks up from the start. So for me, Martinez, such a big miss in that back line, because God only knows how we've managed to, make it, survive with watching Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, and Kumbwala trying to defend in the Premier League. I mean, Johnny Evans actually hasn't actually been that bad. Harry Maguire is Harry Maguire, and Victor Lindelof has not been so hot this season. Contrary to the comment that people nickname him the Iceman because he's so cold with it, right? It's so cold. Well, actually, he's just sleet. He's just sleet. He's the in between. It's just the absolute in between. Um, so yeah, for me, Martinez could not get back into this team soon enough. The fact is that they're training today. We play Wigan on Monday, and I think then Spurs happens. Um, when does that happen? Is that next weekend? Let me find out, because I know it's the FA Cup weekend. No, the EFL Cup goes on midweek. So then we will have another week off until the weekend. So there's essentially 2 whole weeks of training for the likes of Casemiro and Martinez to essentially go through thereabouts before we play Spurs. So yeah, to me, good news, very, very good news. Desperately need those guys back in training and in action. Whether they play or get any minutes against Wigan, we'll have to see. They might get little cameos, very, very little cameos. I think with Martinez, he's very recently back from it. He'll be very recently back from injury. I think they might be a little bit more wary about starting him. Casemiro is a slightly lesser term injury, so maybe he gets into the first team action before Martinez does. But it is good news nonetheless. It is very good news. Javi Guerra, maybe him and Edison, young players, young profile players that we are starting to identify here. Now, we've had links to young players before. We have. But I think there's potential to this being more likely truthful links that we get linked to because of the transfer strategy that's pending to change. We might have it where we look more to signing younger players, building them up from in that sense, whilst then having 1 or 2 top level experienced players. And if Sir Dave Brailsford's statement is to be believed when he talks about having the top level players being on excellent levels, and then having a balance that trickles all the way down to the young and experienced ones with the potential to be great, that it's essentially just a big escalator that just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up, with all the different steps and different levels, and it all just works in sync and in tandem. Maybe there's that element or that aspect of the transfer strategy sort of kicking in, where we identify the lesser players. That will be towards the lower end, whilst then we stick aside the big amounts of money for the top end signings. Maybe Michael Elise is sort of midway to top end in those regards, in those respects, and should be. But given that it is literally the third day of the transfer window, we've already heard quite a lot of talks. There's going to be a lot more of this consistently going on right the way throughout this whole month, talking about some of this, some of that. There's going to be this. It's news, so I'm kind of obliged to talk about it because it's news. And if I don't talk about the news, what am I doing this for? So that's kind of the motives here. So yeah, it's all good stuff there, and that's pretty much the wrapping up of the story interests, or the news stories that we've had with today. But let me know what your thoughts about the links with the lesser experienced players or more potential based players. Don't really know anything about them. I'm not going to pretend to know them. I'm not going to be like top Reds or top Gooners. who apparently know everything about a player right the way to the first word that they ever said in childhood. Um, you know, they were there in the bedroom when the players were conceived. Apparently, that's how sad some of these people are. I'm not going to ever associate myself to that kind of scouting or that kind of delving into stories. So I'll gladly stay away from that, and I'll see to what I see with my own two eyes and generate my perspective on what a player is, how good they are, whether there is something good to come of those players being at Manchester United, and whether they're valuable targets. And we'll have to see how that goes. But Paul Mitchell supposedly in the story regarding Geller as well. Um, Paul Mitchell was named in that story. Um, so there is probably the talks from Paul Mitchell giving a recommendation or two for identifying a target. So we'll have to see. That might just be just run of the mill news stories, just a bit of spin. Maybe someone's literally just made up a story from somewhere and popped it out there, and because everyone's excited for new change, everyone just believes everything. So we'll have to see what the actual just how much depth some of these stories have if they continue to go on in further dates will be significant. Just go rifles through some of the comments before we wrap the show up. Jordanut. We all need to feel sorry for the millionaire Sancho, apparently. Mental health, it's just woke culture, Yeti. It's just woke culture. You see, when someone pulls a victim card, everyone's got to feel sorry for them, because otherwise you're worse than Hitler, basically. Long story short, you're as bad as that Austrian bloke with the pedo tash. Why? Because I criticize a player? Because he didn't put the ball in the back of the net when he's supposed to? Because he decides to literally skiving off of work for 3 whole months? Okay, you do you. I will continue to live in your head rent free as some weird depiction of Adolf Hitler. That's up to you. I'm going to continue living my life as me, as someone who I don't depict myself as an Adolf Hitler. I just depict myself as me. Me, just my first name and my last name, living in my own little world with my friends, my family, the people I share a screen with, and people who come to chat in my chat. That's what I'm going to do. You worry about the absolute atrocities and war crimes apparently I've committed in your own little delusional fantasy worlds. We'll continue living in the real, the factual worlds and what's actually happening in the now. But that's for you. Over there you go, into the sad corner. Um, could be attempt to add some feel good factor into the dressing room, bang them some more wage and make them feel special. Some ego stroking. The wage bill must be crazy big deal. Well, I'll tell you what, with the new contracts, there's got to be a lot of apprehension about giving pay rises at the moment. I don't think anybody's getting pay rises. That's why I doubt there's going to be these contract talk extensions further in the year. I don't think there will. I think it is just a case of that, these guys, I don't, as far as player value, rack it up versus the wage, are they worth that? And there might be some of those players don't match the values of the contract. So, and they're probably the lesser, some of them might be lower value contracts as well. So they'll be easier to sell. So there's your priorities. Get those sales done and out the way first. But yeah, the wage bill is really, really crazy. Apparently it's like 204 million pounds a year for the whole squad. Allegedly, I think it was 204, might be 304. I can't remember off the top of my head. Something. It's nine figure. It's nine figure. wages. Oh, poor millionaire. Pats him on the head, mate. You'll mess up you mess up its hair if you do that, Yeti. It definitely is, Flossie. Yeah, actually, that's a good thing. Mama Flossie, I did cover the wage structures of Manchester United players, the whole wage bill, in yesterday's stream. Don't know whenabouts it was, but I literally went through the whole squad's like up to date wages, and some of the wages on there are absolutely ridiculous. So, but yeah, watch it at your own discretion, and then pick your jaw up off the carpet soon after. I think you got more chance of getting canned links than these links. Well, Links Africa. That's probably it. Well, actually, I say Links Africa. I didn't get any Links Africa, to be fair. I didn't get any Links Africa for Christmas. So there's no links for me. Not yet, anyway. There might be something still in transit that's still not arrived yet. It's Adolf Fuzzler. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, is that a real Tash? I just presumed it was drinking chocolate milkshake. To be fair, I get layers. I get layers on this thing. You know, my milk is quite guilty of. It's quite guilty of adding layers to my Tash. If I want it to, it's like with the little techie things that if your hairline's clapped, right, you just sort of draw like fake hair follicles on. That makes it look like your hair's much fuller, right to the very edge of your buzz cut. Like maybe that's what that's the alternative to it. Um, it's bum fluff. You're not the first to have said that yet, see. My God. First my dad's said that, my brother's said that. Yeah, some of my mates have said that, other people have said that. Now I've got my YouTube chat saying that. Everyone says I've got bum fluff. It's poor genetics, Yeti. I'm not built like a Viking. I'm not built like bloody Luke Littler, who looks like a 35-year-old at the age of 16. Oh, the creamy choco shake leaving its mark. Oh no. Oh no. Well, at least you know where I've been. Yeah, at least you know what I've been and what I've been doing. Guilty as charged. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the show. It was only going to, well, I say it's going to be a short one. I mean, it's still nearly an hour long. Like yesterday's stream was literally about 30 to 40 minutes. So today's been significantly longer. So it's just going to wrap things up there. Thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in and watched. Really appreciate those of you who have liked the stream, and big ups to everybody who watches on playback. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Still 145 subscribers, on the road to 150, which is 100 away from Jess's target. I know it's meant to be a target before Christmas, but still 250 is halfway to 500. So if we get there soon enough, then fantastic stuff. Brilliance. Fuck's sakes, yet. Thanks, Flossie. Thank you, Mama Flossie, for tuning in. Good stream, early doors. Thank you very much, Tony. Cheers, chat. Great stream. Hail Fuzzler. Oh my God. But thanks for tuning in, Yeti. Take care, everyone. You too, man. You too. We need another stream now. No. I mean, go to Lee Reacts. He's live at the moment covering the Girona Atletico game, which, by the way, second half just kicked off in that game. 3-2 to Girona. So that's a banger game. Real banger game. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Let you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday nights. As far as transfer business goes, it's going to continue. The news is going to continue rolling in. And with my availability tomorrow, it's quite possible that if there's significant enough stories or significant enough news, I'll either go live or upload a video just covering the topics at the point of being informed. But until then, keep your eyes and ears open and the notification bell switch on for when I do upload. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we'll speak to you soon. Until then, ciao for now.